So I talked about this in one of my recent videos, and I want to expand on it a little bit more. I think one of my biggest anxieties during this time has been the feeling of not being productive enough, or not feeling like I'm doing enough. During this time when we're all stuck at home, I have felt, and maybe you have too, that I'm doing less and not doing enough, which makes me anxious. And that's something I want to point out and kind of affirm and talk about in this video. The fact that the pace of life amidst all this that is going on has clearly slowed down. Things seem emptier, things seem quieter, things seem slower. And because of the rapid pace that we tend to live our lives at, it seems like too slow, which, like I've said, has caused me a bit of like, okay, we're going too slow, that kind of anxiety. But it can be such a good thing for us because we know that developing our relationship with God, when we can find God, happens most clearly in the silence. Elijah goes up on the mountain to meet God, and there is the fire, and there is the wind, and there is the earthquake, and God is in none of them, but he's in the small whisper up on the mountaintop. And that is where we find God in our lives, in the silence. And often because of that rapid pace in our lives, we don't have the opportunity for that silence on a day-to-day basis. So it's harder to spend time in close relationship and coming to know God. So what this time that we have now provides us with is an extremely valuable opportunity to slow down and to spend time in that silence, which is where we can come to find God. So I encourage, rather than, and speaking to myself as well, rather than getting worked up about feeling the need to, okay, let's make the transitions necessary to adapt my pace of life to this new kind of virtual and isolated reality and try to do as much as I was doing before in this new situation. Instead, embrace the slowness, embrace the quietness, and take this time to maybe do less and maybe spend that time focusing on yourself, on your identity, like you talked about before, and how that relates to God and your relationship with him. There really is, I guess, a lot of good that can come out of this weird and strange time. It is, I guess, what you make of it. But I strongly encourage, to myself as well, a challenge of sorts, but one with very low stakes, in which we do a little less and just be a little more, and to be still in the presence of God and to embrace the silence to hear his voice.